Hello, it's Emily Benson back with workshop number 3 for your Rising Career Masterclass. And this is a really big one. We're going to talk about building a circle of support, which is my nicer, friendlier way of saying networking, because I know that networking is something that a lot of people really actually dread. So I want to turn that around and make it into something that's very doable and doesn't take as much out of you as traditional networking might do. And networking is really critical because more than 85% of jobs are actually found through personal connections rather than just applying online. So the worksheets are linked just below this video, so make sure you have those. And at the end of the video, I'm going to make you a huge special offer that I'm excited about. So I want to make sure that you watch all of this. So in workshop number 1, we went through the career trajectory of powerful professional women and talked a lot about why it's not a completely linear process for the majority of us, right? And many of us have a crisis once we've sort of hit that mid-senior level, and climbing the same ladder just doesn't work for us anymore. So there needs to be some healing work, and then we're able to pivot into something amazing, that works for us now. And then in the second workshop, we talked about taking steady, purposeful action towards healing from any career burnout or trauma that we've experienced earlier in our career. And the actions that we talked about are, putting together your statement of self, really owning your career past, and controlling the narrative through developing wonderful stories about ourselves. Often for women, we're told that certain things, we're supposed to be ashamed of certain things that have happened to us. But those are actually the same things that make us really strong and powerful. So these exercises help us turn around that line of thinking and really recognize what makes us strong, so we can actually use it for good going forward in our career. And today we're going to talk about new patterns where we're reaching out to new people. And I'm going to talk to you about a way that doesn't feel icky or scary in the same way that old traditional forms of networking often do for so many of us. We're also going to talk about setting some careful boundaries during this process, right? And then on Monday in that bonus workshop, we're going to talk about letting go of, the work and the professional identities that aren't productive anymore, and taking really specific actions towards moving towards your identity shift and career pivot. So how does it feel for you when you think about these traditional networking event situations, right? Because I know that I don't love them unless I know I have specific people that I want to talk to. And a lot of my clients have really expressed sort of dread and hatred around going to these kinds of events. They just feel so uncomfortable. And then they write off networking as something that they just aren't good at, or, don't want to do at all. So I just want to kind of break the myth that networking is just about going to these professional events and feeling uncomfortable. So this is my idea here, a circle of support, right? Maybe this is a better image that works for you. Sitting around a fire with a bunch of people that you are really supportive of, and they're supportive of you. So if it's helpful, you can think of this image, warm, fuzzy circle where everyone cares about each other and is actually looking out for each other. Because to me, that's what we're really trying to build here, right? Authentic connections, new friends, really. So a lot of women that, I talk to want a really specific action plan for how to network. So I put this together, and you have this map in your worksheets, again, linked just below this video. So I definitely recommend pulling that out. And I do encourage you to take notes during this section, because I'm going to give you just a ton of ideas for building that circle of support. Right? So this is my map through a process of networking that looks and feels different from, trying to network traditionally. And I'm going to walk you through each piece of this, okay? So new contacts here. Here we're going to, let me just actually walk you through the whole thing first. So you're going to develop new contacts, find new contacts, set up an initial phone call, and plan to, from there you can plan to meet for coffee, or maybe you get enough out of that phone call, right? Or geographically it's not possible to meet up, right? So the phone call might be a little bit longer. After the phone call, you send a follow-up. At some point in that process, you're going to make a really specific ask, and then the follow-ups continue. It would be great if you could reciprocate in some way, right? If they're helping you, how can you help them? And I'm going to talk about some ways to do that. Continually update your new connection with news, thank yous, and build this continued relationship there. Okay, so that's the whole process. So why is it important to make new contacts in the first place, right? You already have a strong circle of support, right? You have your friends and families and professional network now. Why do you even need a new one? Well, this is, and this has been talked about for decades, starting with Mark Granovetter, sociologist who wrote a lot about this. He points out that making a change is really hard within your old network, right? The people who know you as your status quo. It's actually your extended network, the people that are currently what Granovetter calls weak ties, acquaintances or friends of friends or connections of your current professional connections. Your weak ties are the ones that are able to pull you in new directions because they have access to people and resources that you don't have access to currently, right? So your current circle of support knows you, and they might even have something invested in keeping you at the status quo. They might not actually want you to change. Maybe they don't realize it, but people don't like change, and it can be scary when our friends and close family and acquaintances are going in new directions. So you've got to expand that circle of support, right? You have to be reaching out to new people and just think of it as expansion. You're not dumping your old network by any means, you're expanding. So I wanted to give you a lot of ideas for finding these new contacts. LinkedIn is vital here, right? And so you do want to have a good profile up. And you can search for people in the industry that you're interested in. You can search by organization. I love the alumni search feature. So if you go to your college or university's page and click on See Alumni, and then within your university's alumni, then you can search by company or location, industry, and identify people to reach out to. And usually alums are really happy to help other alums. So you can kind of preface your message with that. Hey, I see we went to the same school. Mind if I pick your brain, right? You can also use your old college or university career center at most schools, right? So reaching out to them, seeing if they personally know anyone who's in the field that you're interested in can be fruitful. By centers of connection, I mean people that are really influential, that know a lot of people and enjoy making introductions. Right? So who do you know that is really kind of gregarious, extroverted, loves making connections, making introductions? There's a few of those usually in every community. And what you want to do is reintroduce yourself to that person using maybe your statement of self from workshop number 2. And getting them on your team here during your process of change. Networking events, of course, can be really helpful, but don't go to them if they're really something that you dread. If you do go to them, see if you can find out who's going to be there ahead of time, so that you can maybe look them up on LinkedIn and get prepared a little bit with some specific questions. And once you're there, you want to go for quality conversations over quantity, right? So you don't need to try to meet everyone there. Just focus on having a couple of really good conversations. I usually have my clients put it out on social media that they're interested in talking to people in a new industry or about a career move of some sort. So, just putting out a general ask. Who do you know? Can anyone help me find connections in XYZ industry? And, if you're trying to protect yourself, if you're not ready to make it public that you're thinking about career change, have a friend put it out for you, So your friend can write, hey, I have an anonymous friend who's thinking about moving into a different industry. Are any of you willing to talk to her and give her some feedback? Of course, use your family and friends, but you do want to kind of reintroduce yourself here using that statement of self. And I also love Facebook groups for this too. If you're like me, you're in quite a few Facebook groups on all different kinds of topics, right? Cooking, podcast groups about gardening, all kinds of things. And you can put it out in those groups. Often they are, these are, of course, weak ties for the most part. So put it out to them. Who do they know in, who's gone through the kind of career change that you're thinking about, that kind of thing. All right. So I hope that gives you a lot of creative ideas for thinking about how to expand your circle of support. I think we're lucky that we're in this age of a lot of access to information on the internet and in social media. So use it, right? This is what it's here for. So your first step is to contact them by email or LinkedIn message and ask for a phone call. You just want to ask for a brief, maybe 20, 30-minute call where you could pick their brain a little bit about their industry or their organization or their career, so you don't ask about job openings. Don't ask them if they know about any job openings here. First of all, you're not ready to apply pretty early on, right? And second of all, you're just in a process of learning here. So that's a big mistake I see people making when they're initially contacting new people, is they right away ask, do you have any openings at your organization that would be interesting for me? Or do you know about any openings? And if the answer is no, that just shuts down the conversation, right? So you want to ask them open-ended questions about their industry, about how their career progressed, any advice they might give you on how to transition in, how to get started, those kinds of things. You're sort of thinking of yourself as an anthropologist here and just being, really curious, just gathering data, right? Finding out if the industry or organization would be a good fit for you. All right, so keep the conversation fluid, learn as much as possible, and be really curious. If that short phone call could lead to a meetup, if it's productive. And if it does, you want to just kind of continue with that line of questioning when you meet up, dig in a little bit further, and then you'll have a chance too to talk to them more about you. But what I want to happen somewhere in this early phase, the phone call, meeting up for coffee is some sort of specific ask. And again, not about a job opening, but a really important one is, who else should I talk to, right? So you're using this person to help expand your circle of support even wider, right? So once they know you a little bit and know what you're interested in, then they could probably recommend you to other people to talk to. If you have someone specific that you think they might know and you want to meet, you can ask them for a really specific introduction here. A great thing to ask them for could be resume guidance. Could you look at my resume and give me any advice about tailoring it for your industry? And do you know any networking events or industry organizations I should look into or should belong to? Right? So those are some specific things. It really helps people feel bonded to us if we're giving something. People like to be helpful. They like to give. and it definitely helps develop that connection. But you want to be specific in what you're asking for so that they know how to help you. And of course, a big part of this is reciprocation, right? Our circle of support is a two-way street. So you could do things for them like introducing them to other people, right? Networking is important for all of us, and sometimes we make the mistake of thinking, we can't be helpful here, but we can. You have people that they don't know. You could tell them about networking events that you hear about. Send them interesting articles that might relate to something that you talked about. So, these are easy things you could do to help build that relationship. And you just want to make sure that this isn't just about you asking for help, but that you're willing to reciprocate here. And that's what's going to build this continued job offer. As you go forward, you want to send them news. If you get a job offer, let them know about that. If you haven't talked for a while, but you're getting more clear on what you really want to do, keep them updated, right? And you can continue to thank them. Say they introduced you to someone a while back, and now that introduction has paid off with further networking or even a job offer. So make sure you go back and thank them, right? Thank you for introducing me to this person several months ago. It really paid off. So, and then you can, stay active on LinkedIn, comment and like on their posts, and, continue to think about ways that you can help them continue that two-way street there. And over time, networking, is really a service that you're offering. Everyone needs to network. Everyone needs a strong circle of support. And when you're putting yourself out there, it's for the benefit of everybody. This picture's kind of funny. We all can be pretty isolated. So building these human-to-human connections is really a gift. Just remember, it's not all about you here, right? It's about what you can do for other people. And sometimes this mindset can actually make those networking events that we really dread a lot more tolerable, especially, for women. If we go into it not just of, oh my God, I have to meet people. And if we go into it instead, just like, I'm going to try to meet someone and see how I can help them, right? So your conversation is more about, what can I do for you? What are you interested in? I'd love to help you. I do want to recommend that you shore up some boundaries here. And of course, your resilience, because, this is not that easy. Putting yourself out there can be scary and vulnerable, and not everyone is always helpful or nice about it. So if you run across people who have kind of a negative energy, or it just doesn't feel like the connection is there, go ahead and move on. There's a lot of people out there, right? One thing I actually want to mention here is kind of interesting with the networking. I've had a lot of clients think that they can't reach out to people higher up in organizations, at the executive level or the owner or president level. They feel like they're not ready for that. But I've actually found that in a lot of cases, the people higher up in organizations are even more helpful and more responsive. Of course, that's not universally true, but if you think about it, it makes sense. People that ended up in higher positions probably got there because they're really good at networking, and they're really helpful, and they're service oriented. So don't think that you can't reach out to people higher up in an organization. It's just a point I want to make. They're often really helpful. So, just again, if you experience setbacks during this process, I want you to know that that's totally normal. Rest up, regain your strength, and then put yourself back out there. It's not easy, and it doesn't come that easily to everyone. So you have to be nice to yourself during this process. This is also a time that you might want to stay away from a lot of negative news. You might want to, get extra sleep, eat really well, make sure your immune system's in good shape here, because this can be exhausting for a lot of us. Okay, so my special offer that I promised you. So what I want to do is offer a free group call for anyone who wants to join to answer questions about these first 3 workshops, anything on your mind. So you can respond to any of my emails and just say, hey, I want in on the Zoom call. Send me questions too. If you have some that are on the top of your head about this or anything that came up from the first 3 workshops, send me questions so I can prepare. And if for some reason you can't join the Zoom call, I can still answer your question and then I'll send you the recording. So the Zoom call is going to be on Sunday, tomorrow. So what is that? Sunday the 6th. Sunday the 6th at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So you can mark your calendar with that, but I'll also remind you, just shoot me an email now. Tell me you want in on the Zoom invitation and any questions. If you can't make it, I'll still send you the recording. Okay. So yeah, it'll be fun to get to know you better, find out what you thought of these workshops, and answer any questions, all of that. And then on Monday, we've got a bonus workshop coming. That's really all about putting everything together here and starting to take some action, really moving towards that pivot, moving towards that identity shift, right? So you've got lots of information already from the last 3 workshops. You've got everything about why you might want a career change right now and really understanding that you're headed to something new, something that works for you right now. Maybe it's bigger and better. Maybe it's a leadership position. Maybe it's something entrepreneurial. Maybe it's something more flexible, but it's going to work for you now at the phase of life that you're in right now. And then we talked about healing from any career trauma or burnout, so that you can start to build your circle of support, made up of people who can really help you transition, people who don't have any investment in keeping you in the status quo, but want to help you change. So on Monday, we're going to take all of that and package it into taking action. So that's going to be great as well. All right, so shoot me an email if you want in on the Zoom call. Either you want to come live or get the recording, and then your bonus workshop will be coming to you on Monday. See you soon.